Welcome to episode number 276 of the Marine Layer podcast. We'll recap the entire trade deadline for the Mariners, hand out some grades, and compare them to the rest of the league through these upcoming 2 months.
Your guys' reminder, if you want to stay on top of everything we're doing, go over to our website, marinelayerpod.com. You can find all of our episodes there. If you're listening, make sure to rate and review 5 stars. Download these episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and please go hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It really does help us out if you do. If you're on our website, there's a bunch of stuff there, you guys. If you're interested in your merch, TJ's wearing it right now. Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts. You can go get it all over at our site. Patreon, you can go sign up to get involved there at our site. We'd love to have you get more involved with us and get some exclusive access to some things we do. And then you can also check out our live show schedule, which we are always updating you on. We'll have the next one for you in a date here in the coming days or weeks. And again, it's one place to stay on top of everything we're doing. That's marinelayerpod.com. And you can find us across social media at marinelayerpod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording on Thursday evening, July 31st. The deadline is over. Lyle, how are we feeling?
Pretty good. More calm than we were last night, I must say. It's all mellowed out a little bit.
We got most of our energy out. I think we had a whole day of sitting and watching trades, which let me hat tip Major League Baseball. I was so worried this deadline was going to be an absolute dud. There was just nothing happening up until about last night, or until yesterday afternoon is when it really started going with the 2 relievers. You had Helsley go off the board. You had Duran go off the board. You had Gino go late at night. And then today, man, oh my God. Now is when turning the pass and notifications on really helped. My head was spinning a little bit trying to keep track of all of these. And they put on more of a show than I would have thought, given the expanded format and some of the teams selling was a little strange. You had the Twins. The Twins sold 10 players on their 26-man roster. It's incredible.
And going into Thursday, they'd sold 1. They just sold Duran. And I thought it was just going to be one of those situations where they sold off 1 bullpen arm to get a return back that they really liked, and otherwise would roll with the rest of their roster. But good Lord, for anybody interested in some hilarious content, go check the Twins Instagram page. Somebody took a screenshot of it this afternoon, and it is just filled with basically 10, 20 graphics in a row that are all, this is a trade we just made, here's the deal, and then a thank you post for a player. And it's like 10, 12 of them in a row. It's absolutely insane.
The graphics team for the Twins is working overtime today.
Yeah.
I think they had the same graphic on. It looked pretty close to the same, 2 graphics on repeat. It's like, all right, we got to swap a photo out, change the name.
Yeah, because again, you went from dealing Duran to, how many of these can I even rattle off in time?
Castro,
Jax. Well, hey, I'm going to try and do it. It's impossible to do it in order. But yeah, after selling Duran on Wednesday, you sell off Castro, you sell off Jax, you sell off Correa, you sell off Colomb, you sell off, who am I missing? Again, there's a bunch more.
Oh, reliever to the Dodgers we talked about.
Oh, Brock Stewart. Yeah. Him too. I mean, it was just one after another, after another, after another. But you know what? That felt like the NBA trade deadline today. That was sick. For as frustrating as it was for no action to happen until the final 48 hours or so, for the most part, to see that happen on the final day, sick. Awesome. Honestly, I hope Major League Baseball does that every year. I don't know about you, but I spent my entire afternoon doing 2 things. We hopped on the Just Baseball live stream with our buddies over at Just Baseball and the Just Baseball show to talk a little bit of Mariners because they were doing a full day trade deadline stream, which you can go back and check out and watch if you're interested. But other than that, I was sat down in front of my TV, ESPN turned on for Baseball Tonight, just watching Passan and Buster Olney and Kevin Connors and that whole panel just break trade after trade after trade, and you'll see him passing on there. Like, he's looking down at his phone, and you can tell people are texting him, and he's trying to tweet out, and then he's also reporting and talking into the camera. So you're doing that, and also just watching your phone for notifications every minute of the afternoon. That was riveting. Like, that was, you know how Pardon My Take likes to joke that he's like, they'll tell players, honestly, watching 10 hours of football, really tiring. Some say even more exhausting than actually going out and playing the game. I think you should give us credit. Honestly, the baseball players should give us credit, all us content creators and baseball fans who sat in front of their couch and tracked all those moves for like 3 and 4 hours here on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, players don't have to worry about much of that. They just get to hear it after the fact. It's like the Geno trade yesterday for the Mariners. They had no idea until they got back to the clubhouse. They were just out there playing and vibing. That's it. That's all that was going on. Like, it makes it a lot easier. But, Lyle, we have to keep track of, like, 15 things. I mean, think about the stress that you and I had to be on Jack's watch from 2 to 3 p.m. Griffin Jack's had not been traded yet, and we were thinking, now would be the time. Now would be the time. There were some ideas out there this morning that the Twins were not going to be doing any business. But then as soon as Correa goes off the board, we're like, oh, well, they're selling Correa. Then these guys must all be available. So we're sitting there and we're waiting and we're watching for Jackson. Unfortunately, right at the buzzer, the Rays go out and get him. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, we're sitting there paying attention because if something breaks, you and I have to sit down and do something. If it was someone as big as Jack's, I mean, maybe we would have just tied it into this episode. But the episode, instead of coming out tomorrow morning on Friday, would come out this afternoon as soon as we're done recording. Huge difference of that kind of thing.
Are we or are we not going to send Justin Topa a DM with just nothing but the Will Smith meme?
Do you want to?
I mean, it would be, I can't imagine he's feeling all that, reinvigorated right now, so that might be a little mean. But, I mean, it is literally, yes, they have 26 players on their roster, but you know the Will Smith meme I'm talking about. They had
26 players on their roster.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to make a lot.
Now they have 16.
You know the Will Smith meme I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah. He's standing alone in the room.
Yeah.
It's him and Joe Ryan. Which, by the way, how did Joe Ryan not get dealt?
The Red Sox tried at the end.
Yeah, I heard Craig Breslow do his best Jerry DiPoto impression in the press conference. Look, can I read you this tweet from Craig Breslow? I could not believe it. I had to save it and read it on this episode. I understand the frustration and disappointment. There's not a lot of sympathy for how hard we tried to get those deals across the line before the buzzer. First team all we tried.
He's really bad at this, isn't he?
I saw someone tweet. It was like, thank goodness we no longer have the worst middle relief president of baseball operations.
You mean in terms of doing press conferences? Yeah.
Or just in general.
Yeah.
Breslow's probably not better at his job than Jerry is, especially after this deadline. Jerry has now cleaned up 3 of 4 deadlines. Is
Jerry the only reliever GM in baseball besides Breslow?
4-player middle reliever. It's pretty niche.
Maybe. Okay, maybe that's true. Anyway, before we get to some of the Mariner stuff, this is actually going to be a little bit bullpen banter-esque for those who have seen all our national baseball content, which is called Bullpen Banter. I thought this would be fun. You want to try and name trade acquisitions here from the final day until somebody stumbles and can't get one right for the next minute?
Yeah, I can try. Unfortunately for you, I wrote down pretty much all of them. I'm not looking at it, but I did write them down.
You wrote down every move?
I screenshotted them all down.
You wrote down Bailey Falter from the Pirates to the Royals?
That one I did not write down, no.
Charlie Morton to the Tigers?
How about Shane Bieber to the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yep, that one did happen. I'm going to take the Twins ones out because we just talked about all of them. Well, then you had... there was a lot of Twins dealt, but aside from that, Jose Caballero to the Yankees?
How about James Outman to Boston?
No, the Twins.
Oh, Twins, damn it.
Oh, so you lose. Okay. Dustin May went to Boston.
I do lose. Dustin May went to Boston, yeah.
So that was another. Alex Call from the Nationals to the Dodgers. Man, what a move.
God, what else?
There's so many.
There were a lot. Let's think. Guardians didn't actually make really any moves. That was kind of surprising.
Here's a nice one. How about Miguel Andujar from the A's to the Reds?
I did see that he got moved. That was weird. Well, let's just pull out a big one. Mason Miller got traded when we were done this morning.
That was wild.
Yeah. Shocking trade.
Well, I'd say Adolis Garcia, but he's in the lineup against the Mariners today on Thursday, so I don't think that one actually happened.
I don't think he actually got traded, Lyle.
No, I don't think he's actually a New York Met. In fact, the Rangers took to social media to make fun of that tweet on Thursday.
Off the top of my head, God, I feel like I'm forgetting some.
I mean, there's all the relievers: Merrill Kelly, Phil Maton.
Jake Bird is a Yankee.
There's a lot of guys that are Yankees. We'll get into them. Yeah. Anyway, that was basically a minute. But yes, there was a lot of moves, and I'm sure a ton we didn't even remember off the top of our head. So, yeah, crazy deadline. Do we want to talk about... okay, so now that we're going to get into the Mariners part of this, before we get...
Dog, we missed one. Sorry, we missed one. Paul Sewald got traded to the Tigers.
Oh, he did. And so did Kyle Finnegan. Yeah, the Tigers got a couple relievers.
So, not the top of the line, though. The Yankees got all those.
They got a lot of them, including David Bednar. But... yeah, I was going to say, before we get into, as we get into some Mariners stuff, and I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about Caleb Ferguson, I'm sure we're going to talk about the deadline overall. Do we want to talk a little bit about the Gino saga from the time he got traded to now? Well, first off, as we're recording this, he's back at the ballpark, and people look just thrilled to see him and fired up that he's around. He already did a good vibes only on social media. Of course he did. But the story that Shannon told on 710 today on Brock and Salk. Shannon Dreyer was on, and she told the story of what the scene was like on the team plane when Gino was traded. So I believe, if I have it right, the team knew of the news by this point because Cal gave quotes about it, and JP was talking about it and talking about how excited they were to have Gino. Then all of a sudden they're delayed 30 minutes on the tarmac last night trying to get back, and nobody knows what's going on and why this plane won't take off, and they're wondering, why are we still sitting here? And who comes walking onto the plane after a 30-minute delay but Eugenio Suarez and his family? And it was basically like, from everything I understand, you know the meme on Twitter where the DVD thing is bouncing around back and forth in the square, and then finally when it hits perfectly in the bottom left pocket, it has all those fans down in the crowd like going crazy that it finally hit the bottom left pocket. That's basically what I think the team plane was like when Gino got on, and guys were fired up. They couldn't have been more excited. There's hugs going all around. Apparently Gino went and hugged every single person on that plane. I mean, that just speaks to who Gino is as a whole too, but what a cool moment. I wish they had video of that.
I wish they had video of that too. Just think of it like there's no more happier place he could have been traded to than Seattle. If he was a Yankee, don't think he'd be this happy. I really don't. Just think about that relationship. First of all, it just works out that the Diamondbacks were in town at the same time as the Mariners, and Gino could essentially just take an Uber from their hotel to the tarmac to get on the plane with the Mariners. Just perfect that it works out that way. But also just seeing all the videos out there today, he's going to suit up and play in the lineup for the first time back. He's like, yep, I feel like I'm right back at home. He's hugging employees at the ballpark. It's great. Feels great. He got his old locker back in the clubhouse. It just works out so good. This thing really did work out in so many ways. Package-wise, it worked out. Fit-wise, it worked out. And then just vibes-wise, it is just great. The more we've just sat here and seen the consensus of the fan base for the most part on getting Eugenio Suarez, it's amazing to see. And he's probably going to get one heck of an ovation tonight on Thursday. And then when we're there on Friday, I'm sure he'll get another big one. And on Saturday and on Sunday as well, it's going to be freaking awesome.
I was going to say, I bet you he gets them all weekend. I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Especially when you assume it's going to be a pretty packed crowd over the weekend, especially Friday and Saturday. I would think Gino's going to get some really nice ovations. But
I'll tell you what, for a lot of the fans that were probably boycotting the season, I don't think they're going to be boycotting anymore.
Probably not.
Most likely. There will probably be some, but most of them I would say no. I think getting Eugenio Suarez back brings so many smiles and positive memories out of people's minds. I really do think so. Except those of you who just can't get Ben Williamson out of your head for some reason. But that's it.
See, I hate to do that because, like, Ben Williamson's done absolutely nothing wrong other than go out there.
No, he has not.
Like, gone out there and give the team everything he's got. But my God, man, I don't know what's going on in this fan base. But as you tweeted today, that is going to be studied in sports history classes for the next 100 years or 100 years from now.
People, I don't know whether it was texting the Brock and Salk text line or sending us a DM at, like, asking serious questions about where Gino's going to play because Ben Williamson's at third base. Like, guys, he has 36 home runs.
Like, one guy's
where is he going to play?
One guy's an MVP candidate. The other can barely keep his OPS over 600.
God,
guys, like, again, I hate to do this. I really do. Because Ben's a really good dude. And again, he's done nothing but give his all. And you know what? He's played awesome defense this year. And he's adjusted to some things really well for a rookie. But now when this discourse goes like this, and people are wondering why a guy with a 60% ground ball rate and an OPS that can barely stick at 600 is being taken out of the lineup for an MVP candidate, it forces us to say, like,
wake up, please.
Yeah, like a guy who hits a ball into the ground 60% of the time, doesn't hit with power, doesn't walk. Like, why is he being taken out of the lineup? Well, because you're upgrading by 300 points OPS wise. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Any other Gino stuff before we get through that? Well,
we'll make a prediction that people can hold us to when they listen to this episode on Friday. Is he going yard tonight?
That would be so sick. First at bat,
he cranks one into the upper deck.
That would be
so cool.
Flips. That'd be so cool.
Speaking of which, tonight, we're not going to talk about tonight's game or this series really that much. This is a pretty freaking big series tonight, I will say. Rangers and Mariners both were aggressive at this deadline, and they're neck and neck in these wild card standings. There's a lot at stake here.
I mean, and the fact it's a 4-game series, and I'll say this for both teams, because it applies for both teams. You can't get swept in this series.
No.
Like, if one of these teams gets swept, look at how much that will alter the wild card picture moving forward. Like, if you're the Mariners, you bet, like, after the road trip you just had where you could not take advantage of two very middling at best, or I would more say poor baseball teams, you got to find a way to take advantage in this series. I mean, you got to split at the very least.
So this ties in. Oh, go ahead.
Are you going to move on from Gino? Because I just realized I have one more thing.
Well, I was gonna get to one of the overarching topics of this episode, but yes, go ahead.
All right, 60 seconds, because I told you last night I wanted to do this. This didn't make a ton of headlines or like make a bunch of waves on Mariners Twitter and the social verse of the Mariners world until we tweeted it out. So there was an ESPN article that was put out on Wednesday before this Gino trade. It was Wednesday morning on ESPN of all places. And it was like one crazy trade line, or it was like a couple of out-of-the-box trade deadline predictions. They gave a handful of them about what's something you're not thinking about that could happen. Very first one. I'm not kidding. First one. They said Eugenio Suarez, who is a rental and will be a free agent at the end of the year. They said that he will be getting traded to the Miami Marlins, who are 7 games back of the third wild card. 7 games back. They said Gino's getting traded. Now, you might ask yourself, they must have had some reasoning. Why would they send Gino to the Miami Marlins, who are 7 games back? Well, I'm glad you asked. In the article, they said, point number 1, they owe their fans a little bit of stupid because they've had plenty of cheap. And they said it's time to get stupid. Well, stupid in terms of that would literally be stupid. Not stupid like we're going to try and go for it and give up a big package. That is legitimately stupid. To have a third baseman on a rebuilding team with 7 games out sit and rot? Like, what? So, hang on. So that's point number 1.
Oh, okay.
And point number 2, this one really takes the cake. You thought point number 1 was bad? This one is crazy. I'm just going to read you the quick graph. What was also written in this article was, he said the following: if anything, it would be a good response to Ichiro Suzuki saying at the Hall of Fame induction this past weekend that before he signed with the Marlins, he had never heard of them. This would keep Suarez away from Ichiro's Mariners, so at the very least, this deal would be sweet revenge. Yeah, I'm sure the Diamondbacks and Marlins are thinking to themselves, let's make a trade because I don't like that Ichiro made a sarcastic joke at his Hall of Fame speech, and therefore we are going to deal actual players at the trade deadline to spite a team that, by the way, isn't even in our league. The Marlins and Mariners could not be further apart, both on the map and on rivalry.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to comprehend what I just read.
What is worse, that or Jim Bowden's Geno trade proposal to the Mariners? Which, by the way, for those of you wondering, Jim Bowden put out some trade predictions earlier this week or last week, and his trade to the Mariners was that the Mariners would have to give up Ryan Sloan and Michael Arroyo for Geno.
So that's bad, but at least there were actual rumors earlier in the week and earlier in the deadline process saying it might take 2 top 100 prospects to get Geno. So if you're making me rank them, they're both bad, but at least there was some logic behind that. Trading a guy
AKA Mike Hazen texting Jim Bowden, hey, tweet this out, please.
Well, fine, but trading the best bat on the market who's a rental to the Marlins who are 7 games out of a playoff spot because you want to spite Ichiro? That's the dumbest thing I've ever read. That is the dumbest thing I've ever read. I want to spite Ichiro who made a joke in his Hall of Fame speech. And now we're going to actually deal baseball players to get back at him for one little statement. What?
You're right. You're 100% right. I just think this whole thing is hilarious, and I don't know why ESPN, the writer, spent so much time sitting there and writing these out just to, see how stupid they look.
I mean, it feels to me like they needed a story out quick, and let's just think of something on the fly, and this is what they came up with, because this is crazy. That is crazy work.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to some main topics. Love you bringing that up. Thanks for bringing that up, Lyle. Fabulous content. But let's talk about the Mariners deadline, because we've made it 22 minutes into this episode and haven't gotten to our main points yet. The first question I want to ask you about this Mariners deadline is, now that it's all concluded, what's your grade for it?
I give them an A. Now, if they had gone out and gotten one more big-time bullpen arm, it would have been A+. If you had found a way to get Griffin Jax by the end of this deadline, that's an all-time deadline if you go get Griffin Jax. That could be an A++. But for what they did, yeah, it's an A. They killed it. They got the 2 best bats on the market without giving up a single guy in their top 100 or a single guy on the top 100 prospects list. And you still went and got a good reliever. We'll get into Caleb Ferguson a little bit. He is not an elite reliever, but he's a good reliever. And you got him in addition to the 2 best bats on the market. When you do that, and you get an MVP candidate at the deadline like Geno, because that's what he is, that's an A deadline. And the best deadline I think the Mariners have ever had.
They get an A for me, too. They go into this deadline, they have, I think, 3 clear pressing needs. First base, third base, and reliever. And they went out, they addressed all 3 of them, but they went and got the best players at 2 of those positions. You can't really ask for much more. Think of how some of these other teams are feeling out there who needed third base and first base help or bullpen help and did not get the best of the best at any of those positions and just kind of feel meh at the deadline.
We're going to talk about the Yankees, who I know had a really good day and made some serious upgrades to their bullpen. But where you can compare and contrast the Yankees and the Mariners here is, while some Mariners fans might look at the Yankees and say, man, I wish the Mariners had done what the Yankees did with their bullpen, you think the Yankees aren't looking at the Mariners and saying, man, I wish we had Geno and not Ryan McMahon playing third base, who I came on here and said if the Mariners made that move for Ryan McMahon, I was going to vomit. Mm-hmm. If I was a Yankees fan and I saw they traded for Ryan McMahon, I seriously would have vomited. Because again, he's been a league average hitter 0 times in his career. He's owed $16 million in 2026 and 2027. He's striking out 32% of the time, and he was playing in Coors Field. I wanted no part of that. This could not have been a more polar opposite positive move in terms of what the Mariners did at third base.
Especially after they saw what the price was for Gino. And I feel like there's a good chunk of teams in baseball that could have paid that price and went and got Gino. But the Mariners are the ones who actually got it done, which is a big reason why they got this grade up to an A. The Mariners are a significantly better baseball team post-deadline than they were pre-deadline. A week and change ago, when they didn't have Naylor, they didn't have Gino, they didn't have Caleb Ferguson, this was not as good of a baseball team. Now you can look at the team and say, all right, I believe in this lineup. This 1 through 9 is a legitimate 1 through 9, and this is one of the best lineups in all of baseball. The starting rotation has the talent to be one of the 5 best in baseball. They haven't pitched like it this year, but they very well could be. The bullpen is where the problem still lies, where there's a lack of upside 1 through 8 in that bullpen. But that's now just something you're going to have to deal with because the deadline's over, and these are the guys you're going to be rolling with down the stretch of the season. But you see how much better your lineup got? You're thinking that's going to offset some of the pitching deficiencies you have, either in your starting rotation or in your bullpen as well, and that's why they get an A. Because they went out there and they did, for the third time in 4 seasons, arguably more than anyone else in baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. And to the Gino point, and in terms of actually being the team to acquire him, this is where I think the front office gets some credit again. And you said this earlier when we were talking about it just over text. I think it's fair to say the Mariners called the bluff of the Diamondbacks pretty well. Mm-hmm. Because not only did the Mariners end up being the ones that got Gino, but they offered the package that they did and got the Diamondbacks to say yes. They didn't give up 2 top 100 prospects for Gino. They said, no, this is what the package for a rental looks like, even for a guy who's had as good a year as Eugenio Suarez. They called the bluff.
And the Yankees didn't. And you saw what the Yankees did. They pivoted very early, and they went and got McMahon instead when they, I guess, weren't willing to sit there and bluff. They just wanted a player there at third base. But the Mariners were like, they essentially said, fuck it. Mm-hmm. Like, we're getting this player. Yeah. And Jerry DiPoto, like, is negotiating here with Mike Hazen or Justin Holland or whoever was doing the negotiating here. I assume it was Jerry. But they're like, look, dude, the deadline's coming up. We know he walks at the end of the season. You don't have the power you think you're going to have. And then they end up doing it for that package, and it's amazing. The difference between the bat packages and the reliever packages we saw were fucking insane. Absolutely insane. So it is a little more understandable why the Mariners didn't go get a reliever. For the guys they gave up, I saw Church tweeting about this yesterday. It's like, why haven't rentals been a bigger part of this team's strategy in the future?
Yeah, I don't know.
For what they had to give up.
I mean, it should be, because, again, you don't have to give up as much. And
the total for Gino, Caleb Ferguson, and Josh Naylor, the Mariners gave up Tyler Locklear, Hunter Crinton, Juan Burgos, Jeter Martinez, Brandon Garcia, and Ashton Izzy. How many of those guys, if you were to make a prediction in 5 years, would be everyday players on the Mariners roster?
Totally unbiased here. I'm going to say BG would have been a lights-out reliever.
Right. One of the
totally
six players.
And again, that is a totally unbiased, down the middle, objective conclusion.
Right. Yeah. But
BG's the man, but yeah.
You look at it that way and you're like, oh yeah, duh. That's why we're doing that. And credit to the Mariners. They pressed on it, they were aggressive, and they got it done. And that's a big reason why they got an A. I was worried when I saw the report that they were okay. They were thinking about being okay with Josh Naylor being their number one acquisition of the deadline, which this feels a little bit more like the 2022 deadline when they went out and they got Castillo, but they didn't go get that second great player. They instead filled around the edges and still left some holes on their roster. They managed to fill another pretty big hole with this one. So that, again, that's a big reason for them getting an A.
If the Mariners had only walked away with Josh Naylor and Caleb Ferguson, given what they said publicly, you know what I would have tweeted had the deadline ended today with just that? I was thinking about this last night before the Gino trade. It would have been the most perfect thing ever. When the tweet came out that said, that is the end of the MLB trade deadline, I would have just quote tweeted it on our podcast account with the Skip Bayless screenshot that says, all in, comma, my ass.
I saw someone else tweet that out today. I think it was someone in Chicago.
Oh, maybe you're right. But that would have been the perfect tweet. Just all in, comma, my ass.
The most important comma of all time.
I mean, as that reply section very clearly illustrated back when Skip tweeted that, the work that comma did, it was like pulling a tugboat. Because could you imagine if Skip left that comma out?
Would have been an all-time tweet. Well, it still was, but it would have been a greater all-time tweet. Okay, next question for you, Lyle. Why didn't the Mariners go get another leverage arm?
I think the Mariners only viewed a couple remaining guys on the market as true leverage bullpen arms. To be honest, of a lot of the guys that went off the board, and I understand why people wanted to see action today. Yes, the Mariners could have used more bullpen help. They could have. I also think people love the idea of a dopamine hit on the day of the trade deadline, and they just love seeing action, and they want to see something, and they want to see that their team's transacting. But when you take a step back, when it's all over, and you look at some of the relievers that got dealt, do the Mariners look at a lot of those guys and say, okay, this is a true leverage guy. This changes our roster. I don't think you're saying that about Camilo Doval. I don't think you're saying that about Jake Bird. I don't think you're saying that about Kyle Finnegan. I think there were about two guys who they really viewed as a true leverage arm. Honestly, I'm not even really sure they viewed Pete Fairbanks as a leverage arm. Because Pete Fairbanks isn't striking a ton of guys out this year. He's got walk problems. He's owed a decent amount of money next year. I just don't know if the Mariners saw that as a true meaningful upgrade. Not that it would be no upgrade, but a true meaningful one where it's worth giving up the trade package. I think they probably saw two guys as game changers in the bullpen entering Thursday. One was David Bednar. The other was Griffin Jax. And could you argue that the Mariners should have made a deal to get one of those guys? Sure. But when you see Griffin Jax get traded for Taj Bradley, a big league ready starter who I know he's struggled a little bit this year and has spent some time in the minors, but you're talking about a guy with filthy stuff. He's 24 years old. His upside could still be the moon. He was a huge prospect when he debuted. The return the Twins got on Griffin Jax says to me that they told the Mariners, if you want Griffin Jax, give us Bryce Miller. And obviously the Mariners looked at that and said, yeah, we're not doing that. So I can't really blame the Mariners for not going and getting Griffin Jax.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I would have then tried to go after Bednar, and maybe they did, but maybe they didn't like him enough to give up what the Yankees gave up for him. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Yankees had to dip too far into their top 30 to get him, right?
No, they didn't. It was interesting that they gave up a catcher to get him, and that's the one thing where I looked and said, well, could the Mariners have done that? Could this have been where they dealt Harry Ford to go get something of big league significance? Could have been. Now, maybe the Mariners view Harry Ford as a much better player than the catcher the Yankees gave up to go get David Bednar, and that's why they didn't do it. Is they have a model, the Mariners have a system, and they're not going to just, they're not going to blindly overpay for something. But of the two, yes, Bednar would have made more sense, but maybe the Mariners didn't view the overall value of the trade as being right in their minds to go and dip into their top 100. Because you're right, the Yankees didn't dip into the top 100 for that.
And they might have dipped into their top 100 for Jax because they probably hold Jax up here and Bednar up here, and then everyone else they view as too similar to the guys we already have in our bullpen. Therefore, no need to give up value for those guys. We'll get similar production out of the guys we already have. Mm-hmm. I just wish the Twins were more interested in prospects.
Same.
Like, they're rebuilding. I feel like they could have been easily interested in more prospects. Taj Bradley, you could argue, still kind of is a prospect given his age. But he's got like 350 innings under his belt, and he started 67 games in the majors.
Yeah.
So, like, he's got that experience there, too. That's just kind of disappointing, and why we were kind of sitting here on Jack's Watch for the last hour of the deadline, thinking, are the Mariners going to push their chips in to go get Jax? But once we saw the price, it very much makes sense why they didn't go do it. The reliever market was kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy. And the Mariners... Kind of. It was... fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, I will say, just because the Mariners passed on the market does not mean their bullpen, I think, is totally fine. I still think the bullpen very much lacks upside. I think the Mariners have very much accounted for now the cost of not going and upgrading at the deadline, their bullpen, where they sit there and they think, okay, this is sort of like the risk we're going to have to take. It's the same thing with the rotation, right? You still have kind of an unknown fifth spot with Logan Evans' innings limit and Bryce Miller coming back to health. Like, that spot right there is uncertain, and the Mariners' rotation from a performance perspective, top to bottom, has not been great. You can say the same thing with the bullpen. It just lacks upside 1 through 8 in that bullpen. And the Mariners sit there and say, okay, are we still good enough even if we don't go out there and we acquire another bullpen arm at this deadline? And they answered the question for us in terms of what they believe. They think they're still good enough in the bullpen down the stretch. In the regular season, Lyle, given the state of this lineup now, I think the bullpen's good enough. I think they're going to score enough runs. They should score enough runs to outweigh either rotation struggles or bullpen struggles. Now, when you get into a series, potentially in the postseason, with the Yankees, and that bullpen they have, on top of the lineup they have, and the rotation they have, that's where some problems might arise. But that's an October problem. They have to make it there first.
Oh, we're actually seeing this a little bit differently. I flip-flop it in terms of my mindset. I would be more worried about the bullpen getting you through the rest of the regular season than I am about it in October. Because if the Mariners are going to win in October, well, if they're going to win, period, but especially in October, their starting pitching has to figure it out. Logan Gilbert and George Kirby have to be who people know they can be and who they know they can be. And when you get to October, if those guys are giving you serious length, then that should like eat up a lot of the innings before you have to get to your bullpen. And when you have as many off days as you do in the postseason, because during the regular season, you don't have that. But when you have that many off days in the postseason, you could go to Gabe Spire, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz a lot if you want, and you can mix Caleb Ferguson into that too. Remember how in 2022, during that Astros series, before the 18-inning crazy game, honestly, even a little bit in the Blue Jays series too, the Mariners were like basically using Munoz and Brash. They didn't use a whole lot else out of their bullpen.
And Paul Sewald.
They were using... yeah, a little bit. I mean, they used Sewald in the Astros series, that's for sure, because Sewald's who gave up a bunch of the base runners before Robbie Ray came in, and he walked David Hensley on that 3-2 pitch.
And I was going to say, and they put George Kirby in the bullpen before 5 of the guys.
Right. So when you get to October, you can make it work with some of your A-level arms and use them a lot because there's more built-in off days. Where I more look at this... throw Caleb Ferguson into that mix too, because he's not going to be at the level of Munoz, Brash, or Spire, but he should be just a level below that where he is very effective. It's more getting through the rest of the regular season where I have my worries, where, yeah, you play almost every day. You've got stretches like you've had over the course of this year and as of recently where you have 17 games in 17 days. And that's where it really starts to bulk up in terms of that bullpen usage, where you start to have to dip into the back end of the bullpen. And that's where it can get a little bit... terrifying is not the right word, but it gets a little antsy. So if you're out there and you have some concerns about the Mariners bullpen the rest of the year, those are totally fair. They're warranted. I think TJ and I both have some level of concern about what the bullpen is going to look like the rest of the way. But it doesn't change the fact that they absolutely crushed this deadline.
Yeah. So again, that is, right there is the difference between the A and the A+, but that's fine because at least for right now, they did upgrade enough in other areas like to hopefully offset what they've done. So that's good. Mm-hmm. And the more I think about it, the only leverage arm I think they were truly price-wise would have been interested in was Bednar. And that's it.
Price-wise, yeah, but the player themselves, I mean, yeah. I'm pretty sure they loved Griffin Jacks. How could you not? Which... let me throw this one little tidbit in here, too. And it made me think about this the longer the trade sat there and kind of marinated. Any world the Rays are about to try to turn Griffin Jacks into a starter?
I don't know if I'd be able to answer that with any confidence one way or the other.
I only ask that because why did they make this trade? I understand that Jacks has 2.5 years of club control, but this is a weird time for the Rays to be not only making this trade, but up against the clock of the deadline where things are getting really tight and things get very stressful, and sometimes people make stupid decisions at the trade deadline across the league, and sometimes you overpay. I'm just trying to think about why they would do this here and now. I'm not saying the Rays can't get into the playoffs.
Started?
But, I mean, Jordan Hicks had never started. It's the same idea.
Yeah, and Clay Holmes did the same thing. No, he has not started. Not in the big leagues.
I wonder if they're looking at that sort of thing with Griffin Jacks. Because otherwise, why are you up against the clock, desperate to go get a bullpen arm? Passan was on Baseball Tonight this afternoon and called it the most surprising deal of the deadline. Because, yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense why the Rays went and did this now. I think they have some longer-term plan built out for Jacks. Because to just go and get a reliever in a year where I'm not even sure they're true contenders, it's not impossible, but they're not exactly lighting the world on fire. They traded away Jose Caballero, who's leading the league in stolen bases. They sent him to the Yankees in division. I don't know. Like, it feels to me that because of the club control Jacks has, there's some longer-term plan built out with him that the Rays have, where they're going to try to build him up into a starter moving forward, maybe for a season and a half. And then, like the Rays do before he hits free agency, they'll trade him again.
And get maximum value back for him. I'll tell you who I know probably will become a starter is Mason Miller. I think Mason Miller's going back to be a starter.
You think?
He's going to... The Padres, speaking of adding bullpen arms, Padres added a lot of bullpen arms too. Their bullpen is pretty good. But I think for Mason, at least in the Mason Miller sense, I don't think they didn't trade Leo DeVries, who's the number 3 prospect of baseball, by the way. If you wanted Mason Miller, you would have had to trade Colt Emerson to go get him. And I don't think anyone wants to do that.
Yeah, like, I know, guys, that we're all about the team being all in and being serious about this year and being serious about winning. And we all are. We'll stamp that. But there has to be some level of reason to it. No, you're not trading Colt Emerson for a reliever. Like, as good as Mason Miller is and as much club control as he has, as awesome as he is, you're not trading Colt Emerson to do that. And I know nobody wants to hear about people being prospect huggers because a lot of prospects don't work out and the hit rate on prospects is obviously low. There's a difference between everybody that goes into a general bucket of prospects and the guys that you believe that can be true difference makers long term. There is a difference. Colt Emerson is by the definition a prospect, but you know the Mariners and the rest of baseball view him as somebody who can truly be an impact player long term. And when you have a guy like that, you're not trading him for a reliever. Like,
not at all. But Mason Miller has started in the past, which is why I say that. And when you throw 104, you could probably comfortably sit 97, 98 as a starter. I mean, most likely.
It didn't exactly go swimmingly the first go-around as a starter for Mason Miller.
Well, his relief efforts this year also haven't gone swimmingly. So, and if you're going to give up a top 3 prospect, might as well try.
But when you
because otherwise, then the value doesn't make sense.
But if you're trading DeVries, who I know we're getting into prospect talk here, but just bear with us because we talk about him because he's one of the best prospects in baseball, which is why it was shocking he was dealt. If you want pitching and you're the Padres, why would you not start a package with him next winter to go get Tarek Skubal?
Ask AJ Preller.
I mean, for a guy that, again, is an unproven starter in Mason Miller. Why? Sorry.
Ask AJ Preller.
Skubal could even be a crazy one. I don't know if he gets traded or not. I don't know if the Tigers are going to re-sign him. That's why I floated out there. Why wouldn't you go float DeVries out for Joe Ryan? Like,
as our friend Peter Apple said, Lyle, send whoever orchestrated this trade to jail.
I mean, that was crazy. It was a crazy day. It was a crazy deadline day. It was a really fun one, though. All right.
I was going to say, do you have any other takeaways?
I do, but I want to take a quick pause because I want to talk to you guys about, our friends over at Pagach's Pub 85. What did we say the other day? We're going to say it again. You want to watch this Mariners team moving forward? Yes, you do. Everybody does. And if you want a spot to go hang out and watch the games, head over there. You can hang out with your friends. There's 20 TVs in the place to watch the games. You can watch a bunch of different sporting events. NFL season's right around the corner, you guys. Preseason starts in just a couple weeks. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff you can go watch, especially sports-wise. You can go have some great food. There's games in the place. And if you go during happy hour, you can get $3 and $4 happy hour drink specials from 2 to 6 p.m., again, Monday through Friday. Those are awesome deals. $3 and $4 drinks Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. All that is over at Pagach's Pub 85 in Kirkland. Other takeaways, I mean, we should probably spend 2 minutes here on Caleb Ferguson. We still haven't done that. Is there any other takeaways?
Well, I would say the American League is really American League was loading up. I thought the American League was a lot more aggressive than those National League teams. Think of all those National League contenders. Like, who took a big swing besides the Padres? Dodgers,
Phillies?
Not really.
Phillies?
Oh, Phillies. Okay, so the Phillies and Padres, yes. The Dodgers, not really. Brewers, no. Cubs, not really.
Yeah. I'm surprised the Cubs didn't get more aggressive.
Giants sold. Like, it was kind of a mid-deadline for the National League. But the American League, Blue Jays pushed in for Shane Bieber. The Rays, again, shockingly being aggressive. Wow, even the Angels bought.
Losers.
Did you see the report that was like, they won on, they won Tuesday night, and that changed the front office's mind from selling is like, now we're going to buy. And what did they do? They went out and they acquired like a couple of middle relievers.
Who runs that franchise? I mean, I know who runs it, but like, even when you get past Artie Moreno, who is in there with him making these decisions? It is legitimate insanity.
People who like their jobs.
I mean, I feel seriously awful for Angels fans. And I know because we've dealt with it in our lives. Total incompetence in the 2000s and a lot of the 2010s watching the Mariners. How do you cope with this? It is unfathomable watching that team operate.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's not good.
Meanwhile, since you mentioned the National League wasn't doing a whole lot of buying, can I actually send a text really quick? I just want to take a pause. Dear Kyle, there is one team who took their trade deadline extremely seriously. The team you are playing on right now did nothing but sit on their hands and say, we don't need much. That sounds like one team is more serious about winning than the other. Consider that this winter. Your buddy, Lyle, from the Marine Layer Pod. All right, we can get back to podcasting now.
Okay, what other takeaways? Okay, let's talk about Caleb Ferguson. Here's what I would expect from Caleb Ferguson. The stuff is pretty good. He's been very productive this season, which is good. He's a lefty, which is also important because the Mariners don't have a lot of lefty pitchers, period. I think Gabe Spire's the only one right now. So now you have a second one with Caleb Ferguson, and he's been productive enough to the point where Gabe's going to be the leverage lefty. Caleb's going to be the lefty you throw when you don't want to use Gabe, but you do want to use lefty and you have a lead, which is good. You can probably expand his role a little bit beyond that, but they have versatility now to use a lefty whenever they want in the bullpen, and they don't have to save a lefty. They don't have to think about, maybe we'll use Trent Thornton instead because his splits against lefties the last 3 weeks have been good. No, they have an actual lefty now that they can go use in the bullpen. The thing that makes Caleb Ferguson so good is he does not get hit hard at all. He's not the biggest strikeout guy in the world. He's not going to walk anybody, but what he does do is that guys do not hit him hard at all, and that's pretty valuable. And it just gives them a little bit more of a strategical flavor in that bullpen that they can go to. It's going to help out. I don't think it's the biggest need for this bullpen of what they needed at this deadline, but I do think it improves them and makes them better.
Can I throw you a fun Caleb Ferguson stat?
Sure.
I'll actually give my buddy John the credit for sending me over this. And I mean, you know him. He's kind of a mutual friend of yours now too. But anyway, he sent me this after the trade, and I said, oh, you know what? That's actually pretty interesting. So Adrian Morejon of the Padres, who made the All-Star game this year and has been awesome, is first in baseball in both average exit velocity and hard hit rate on Baseball Savant. He doesn't get hit hard either. He's had an awesome year. Another dude who's a pretty crafty lefty. You know who's second in both those categories? Caleb Ferguson. That's pretty good.
Listen to these numbers. I mean, the average exit velocity is 83.5, which is really good. That's 100th percentile.
I mean, and 100% percentile, by the way, for anybody who doesn't constantly check Baseball Savant, that's nuts.
That's the best.
I mean, that means you are elite of elite. You are a 1% of 1% in that category. Again, he's second in baseball.
97th percentile barrel rate, meaning guys aren't squaring it up and hitting it in the air and hitting it hard. He's got 100th percentile hard hit rate, and he's got 86th percentile ground ball rate. Excellent results. Those are the results you want. You either want weak contact on the ground or you want swing and miss, and Caleb fills out one of those categories, that's for sure. And again, for the price, you don't have to give up anything. So, yeah, that's good.
I mean, Jeter Martinez, we know, is a lottery ticket. That's a true lottery ticket of a prospect because he has run it up to 100 before. The Mariners gave him some decent money when he signed as an international free agent. But he's a long way away. He's not like he's lighting it up. It is a true lottery ticket by every sense that the Pirates said, we'll take a chance.
The Mariners did trade away Pablo Lopez again.
Yeah, let's run with that narrative. Yes. Please throw more than 8 innings, Caleb Ferguson. Don't be David Phelps. We beg you. But I am excited to see what he can do. I mean, if you just want one more number, I'll stop throwing numbers at people about him after this. But his expected ERA is 2.86. So he's actually been a little bit unlucky this year. His numbers should be even better than they are. In the end, you're not going to see him rack up a ton of strikeouts. You're not going to see him get a ton of swing and miss. He will make his money by having opponents putting balls on the ground softly and getting outs. That's what he'll do. And I don't really care how you get outs as long as you get them. You don't have to strike guys out in a non-leverage role. If you get outs, it's totally fine with me. And I think he is going to help this bullpen very significantly. He's not elite. There's a reason he wasn't valued like Griffin Jax was, but he's very good. He's good.
Any other takeaways we have? How this team stacks up with the rest of the American League?
Oh, I'll do one more Caleb Ferguson thing before we get to that. Okay. It's supposed to be a really nice dude. It's supposed to be an awesome dude. Okay. Our friends over at Bucko Banner, who are also part of Just Baseball and do an awesome Pirates podcast. We did some social content with them when they were here over the 4th of July. That was on our social channels. We were like naming random Mariners and Pirates. Maybe you guys saw it. Those guys are great. But they said, Caleb Ferguson's the man. They said, we loved talking to Caleb Ferguson. So, yeah, I hope he's a cool dude when we get to meet him. So
we love relievers. Perfect.
I mean, relievers are great because they have time to just kind of hang out and screw around until they actually have to get in the game. So, yeah, shout out to them. How they stack up against the rest of the American League. I mean, there's a real argument that the lineup could be the best one in the American League, right? It's not definitive, but there's an argument.
It's them or the Yankees right now. It's not the Astros. It's not the Rangers. It's definitely not the Red Sox. Maybe not the Blue Jays.
But even when you get past Aaron Judge, when he's healthy for the Yankees, like then what? The lineup's not that deadly. I mean, of course, Judge himself is deadly, but guess what? If you face Aaron Judge in the postseason, he's going to be Abe Toro, so it's fine. So you get past Aaron Judge in the postseason, and you know who else are you looking at? I'm up and down the list. Paul Goldschmidt, 109 OPS plus. He's been fine. I mean, Anthony Volpe, I've seen Yankees fans calling for his head.
Oh, God.
I mean, he's been
a tough year for Volpe.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Dominguez, 105 OPS plus. Ben Rice, 115. Cody Bellinger's been good, and we'll give him that. But, like, that's not
Grisham's been good, too.
Who?
Trent Grisham.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so Bellinger, Grisham, and Jazz Chisholm. Those guys have been good players. But that's not a world beater lineup. Again, no. If the Mariners take our advice and do what we say every time they face the Yankees and put up 4 fingers every time Aaron Judge steps to the plate and have somebody else beat you, like it's not that imposing of a lineup.
No, it's not. So then you could sit here and you could make a solid argument that the Mariners have the best lineup in the American League and when they're on, the best rotation. But the problem is the Mariners rotation hasn't shown us that they're the best in the American League this year. But they still could in the final 2 months. So I think that's, I'd say, my final takeaway. You have every reason in the world to be excited about this team.
Yeah.
In the final 2 months of the season. The expectation for every fan out there, now that the deadline is over, regardless of how anxious you are about them acquiring or not acquiring the right bullpen arms, this team is good enough to make the playoffs, and now they need to go do it.
Yep.
The front office has done their job to put enough talent on this team in a position and in a weak American League. A weak American League. With the Astros being desperate with Correa. The Rangers upgraded a little bit. They're right there with you for this final wild card spot or whatever wild card spot you're chasing. But man, I'm taking the Mariners roster. The Mariners roster feels better than these other teams. They just need to go do it now.
I'll give the Rangers a little bit of credit because they went and got Merrill Kelly when they know Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker are on innings limits. So they did upgrade their rotation. They got a couple real bullpen arms. I mean, they got Danny Colomb. They got Phil Maton, who are another couple of guys who are not in that A-level leverage reliever category and not the type of guy the Mariners seemed like they were that interested in paying the price for because they didn't feel like it was going to change the needle of their roster that much. But they're good relievers. Phil Maton's had a really good year. So, sure, they made some upgrades. Their overall roster still hasn't been great this year. It still has a flurry of problems. Their offense has had a whirlwind of issues. So, I know they're hot right now. Doesn't mean they'll keep it up. And the Astros, man, I mean, you could throw up an I'm desperate sign on their head. I'm not saying they're going to miss the playoffs, but they have had so many injuries. Isaac Paredes may not even come back this year. Yordan Alvarez is still taking a long time. And I know that people are excited about the whole Carlos Correa trade because he's such a name brand and he's going back to where he spent most of his career. Guys, if we're going to go away from the name brand thing here and we're just going to go off of objective production in terms of what the guy's done this year, Carlos Correa's put up 0.1 WAR in what's been 93 games so far. He's got a 102 OPS plus. Like they're not getting Gino here. They're not. I know Carlos Correa is a huge name, but he hasn't been that great this year. He's aging. He's often injured, and the Astros now have to take on a monstrosity of a contract that's going to keep him there a long time. And eventually it's going to move him to a position that he's never played in third base because Peña's the shortstop when he gets back. I get it's exciting from a PR perspective. I wouldn't look at that Carlos Correa trade and said, "Oh my God, oh no, here come the Astros." And then they got Jesus Sanchez, who isn't all that good. He can't defend. He's not a great hitter. Like whatever. I'm not that inspired by the Astros. They look desperate.
So all of what Lyle just said should make you very excited and have high expectations on what the Mariners should do.
For sure. No doubt. All right. This was a fun episode. Now they got to go play. It's going to be fun. On Monday, we will do a mailbag episode. We're going to do our final trade deadline wrap up and answer a bunch of the questions that you guys have. Because again, we owe you guys a couple mailbags and we want to take your questions. So we're going to do that. That'll be on Monday. We're going to record it a little bit early, a little bit of a spoiler, a little bit of a behind the scenes. TJ and I are going to be in California for a wedding this weekend. So we're going to take all your questions. We're going to answer them. And then we'll be back, normal programming, when we get back on Wednesday. Then we'll recap everything that's happened in the first week with Gino on the Mariners and all that good stuff. So it'll be fun. But we want to answer all your questions. So it works out that we're going to take a bunch from you guys and get your final thoughts on the trade deadline as we move forward. And it's forward with a really exciting Mariners team. So it should be good. Send us the questions. All right. That just about does it for this.
Can I just say thank you all so much for the support during this deadline. Talk about exceeding our expectations with support and engagement and views and all that. Insanity. It was fabulous. Thank you guys. Thank you. Seriously.
I know. There's a reason we say every single show, thank you guys for tuning in. It's not just because we put it in some one-liner. We mean it. All of your guys' support,
it supports us.
Yeah,
this is our life.
Yeah, it supports us, and it makes our day every time. Any comment of people wanting to talk baseball or any, like on a video or any engagement that people give us that watch, or certainly the people that we meet at the ballpark. Again, there's a reason we spend a lot of time walking around the park and talking to all these Mariner fans. Number one, because when it all comes down to it, we're just lovers of ball like everybody else is and like talking baseball with people. That's the biggest reason we do it. But we also do it so we can talk to the people that engage with us, because we don't want it to just be some, kind of what do you call it? What do you call it? The retractable, not a retractable bridge. The
drawbridge?
Yeah, drawbridge. Not like a drawbridge where it goes up and it's such a, distant dynamic between us and listeners.
A moat is what you're referring to. A moat?
Sure. And the point being is we genuinely love talking to people in person and talking baseball with people in person because we want to connect with people. That's what's so fun about all this. As great as the online engagement stuff is, and we cannot appreciate what you guys do for us enough. Like, that's why we like to do it in person, too. We like to hear the things you guys have to say in person. We try to do as best a job as we can doing it through the podcast with the mailbags and responding to DMs and emails and things like that. But the most fun of it is when we do it in person. So there's a reason we like to talk to all you guys and interact with so many of you guys. It's been great. But all that being said, all the support during the deadline has been amazing. So shout out to you guys. All right. That just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to find all of our stuff, it's at our website, marinelayerpod.com. All the episodes are there. If you're listening, please download, rate and review 5 stars. It helps the show a bunch. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and you see the subscribe button right in front of you, just click it. That's the best way you can support the channel. Hit subscribe on YouTube. Go get your merch. There's a ton of merch on the website. Sign up for our Patreon if you want to get involved. Go check out our live show schedule. Again, that's all at our website, marinelayerpod.com, and you can find us across social media at marinelayerpod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.